Mom's dementia diagnosis we were given just didn't feel right. Pam and I were constantly looking at the symptoms and we just like couldn't make it fit. And that became like a bit of an obsession of ours. Like we needed to know the actual diagnosis. What was this thing? But there were just a few things that didn't make sense. And there were big things. Like with this type of dementia, there were certain things that are a bit of a standout. And it just, Mom didn't have it. That didn't happen for her. Hi, my name is Amanda Ross, and this is video 2 of our dementia journey. If you haven't watched video 1, please go and do that. In this video, we're going to talk about symptoms not matching the diagnosis. In 2022, our mom was diagnosed with dementia by our amazing geriatrics doctor, Dr. Brian Masajic with Hamilton Health Sciences of St. Peter's Hospital. He's amazing. Before we get to that, let me just take you back through time, though. I'm going to kind of take you on a bit of a journey just so you can kind of see the changes over time a little bit. All right. So in our very first doctor's appointment, now this is with our family doctor because you can't just go to a geriatrics doctor and be like, hey, hi, we need an appointment. You actually need your family doctor to get you into that appointment. So we go to the family doctor. We do the MoCA test, which if you don't know what the MoCA test is, this is the test that they use to see where you are cognitively. There is a DIY test you can do. Link is in the description. This is the test that they use. It is scored out of 30. At that time, this was March 29th, 2021, Mom scored 22 out of 30 on the MoCA test. And he said, you know, she's got a bit of decline. It is what it is, but it's not dementia. So, right? But then we had our first doctor's appointment with Dr. Brian Masajic in January of 2022. So January 25th, 2022, we go. They separate us. So they take Mom into a room and they take me into a room. And they ask me a bunch of questions, what's been going on, all the things. They take Mom into another room. They give her a bunch of tests. So they're doing I don't even know, frailty. They're doing the MoCA test. They're doing how does she walk. They're doing blood pressure. Like they're doing a bunch of things. I'm over here. I'm telling symptoms, things like that, stuff that I've noticed. And also they were curious about how is I managing as a caregiver. Am I okay? And that kind of thing. So then they bring that together. Dr. Masajic looks at it and then he comes in and the three of us are together and there's more questions and he's investigating further. So we're in there and he just, he does a couple things, asks her a couple questions, just kind of, introduces himself and all that good stuff. Shows her an image in a magazine. He says, like, what's going on in this image? What's happening in this ad? And she says, well, that's a person. And he says, yeah. What else is happening? And she's like, well, that looks like it's hard to walk on. I think it was sand. But like, she couldn't tell you what was happening in the whole image, right? She can look at a thing. Go watch the first video if you're curious about the eyesight thing, because that's kind of where I break that down a bit more. So I did explain to him our eyesight journey, and that she needs prism glasses and all the things, which of course really have nothing to do with what I'm talking about. And if you watch video 1, you'll know. So he was really curious and was like, there's something definitely going on. I'm not sure what it is. There could be multiple things happening at once here, but this is unusual. Some of these things are unusual. So he actually did this thing where he said, follow my hand, follow what I'm doing. And he like made a fist and put it on the table. And Mom went like this. So not the same, right? Actually, here's a quick video of that actually happening real time with Pam and I, where Pam was trying to show Mom how to take a selfie with your phone and how and where you should put your fingers.
Just put it in the middle of your fingers. Nope, not at all.
That is what we're talking about. He also asked, when you were young, did you have a head injury? He was like, something's odd, right? It was an interesting question. He then took me aside and said, she's showing signs of a couple of different things. So he wasn't like prepared to diagnose right now. He's just like, there's some strange and unusual things happening here. So, her MoCA score at that point was 15 out of 30. Now, remember, we had just had the MoCA score with her family doctor, not even a year before, which was 22 out of 30. Okay. So now we're at 15 out of 30. He wanted us to get blood work and MRI, and he'd see us again in 6 months. So 6 months later, we have done the things, and now it is July 2022, and we had a follow-up phone call with him where he said that she was showing moderate brain atrophy, especially in the parietal lobe. I hope I said that right. And also some white spots on the brain. He said by themselves, these things are not very interesting or exciting or anything, but there was also shrinkage of the brain, and that changed everything. So he asked us a little bit like, what's been going on? Any new symptoms you want to share with me? That kind of thing. So we ran down a bunch of things like if I was driving her somewhere. So she did have, let's go back to just real quick before I go further. She did have a bad car accident when I was a kid. I don't remember when. I don't remember the timing. I know that I was probably 8-ish. She also had a really bad car accident in 2017. Car was a write-off. She had another bad car accident in 2020. Car was a write-off. She never drove again. She also had a really bad fall in 2019 on a cruise on a vacation she was on. So not great. So we need to know all of this information. So he's asking about anything that's been going on. So she was having trouble remembering things in terms of if I was driving her somewhere and I'd be like, okay, at 10 o'clock, we're going to the dentist. She would come back in like, oh my God, over and over and over. We're going somewhere. Yes, Mom, we're going somewhere. We're going somewhere at 10 o'clock. I'm going to drive you. She'd go away, come back. Are you driving me somewhere? Yes, I'm driving you somewhere. We're going to the dentist at 10 o'clock. Okay, come back. What time are we going? 10 o'clock. Where are we going? The dentist. Like it would happen like, I can't even tell you how many times this would happen, but like in an hour, I'm getting nothing done. So I'm just answering this question the whole time. Following a recipe, impossible. So what we would do in cooking is instead of me saying, we're going to make a salad, grab all the things, right? No, I'm going to say, here's a pepper, wash the pepper. Done washing the pepper? Okay. Here's a cutting board, here's a knife, here's the pepper. Cut the pepper, right? One thing, very specific tasks. She was also having financial issues around understanding what money was. What's a loonie versus a quarter versus a dime? Don't know. Paying, doing math, really hard, which is such a messed up thing because when we were kids, she is the one who taught me how to do that kind of math. God, this is the third time I've recorded this. I thought I'd get through this. And we'd take swimming lessons, and like while Pam was in her lesson, Mom would be teaching me math. She also got really obsessive about her bank account, like looking at it all the time and and she knew her password really well, obviously, because she was in her bank account all the time. And then all of a sudden it was like, gone, password gone. So in a 2-week period, I had to change her password like 5 times until we realized that it would open with facial recognition, her bank. So we did that, which was great, helpful. She would walk into chairs, miss chairs entirely, fall on the floor. She had fallen a couple of times. Things like that were happening. Depth perception, understanding where to put her foot on the stairs. How far was the stair? How high was the stair? Where is there a stair? Like, if I said to her, here's your phone, she would, and I'm like trying to get her. And then I just like put it and I'd be like, there's your phone. Or if I held it in front of her and said, here's your phone, her eyes are not looking at that phone. Her eyes are, and I'm like, Mom, no, here, Mom, no, here. And I would like take her hand and say, here's your phone. Like, that's the kind of stuff that was happening. Forgetting where places are. So she would be in a very a place she's known for years and have no idea, not recognize it, not know where she was. Not at all. Shuffling gait. So she was definitely like, and having a bit of a lean when she walked. Not understanding everybody was in a photo, who was in the photo, or that there was even, if there was 5 people in a photo, she might think there's only 2 people in a photo. She had gotten lost out in the neighborhood walking Buffy, a walk she used to do every day at 2 o'clock for years. She would walk my dog Buffy, who she loved. God, she loved her so much.
What are you doing? Oh my God, Amanda, look at her.
I know.
And everybody that knows Mom knows this, because you know all about Buffy. And anyone who's watching this who knows Mom, you already are going like this. Yep. Buffy was her it. Buffy was her all. God, she loved my dog. She loved my dog. There were 2 peas in a pod. I would just call them my 2 old ladies. I'd always be like, look at these 2 old ladies I've got here. What am I going to do with you 2? He asked if she was having hallucinations, and both Pam and I were like, no, she's not having hallucinations. He wondered about recurring head injuries, car accidents, falls, all these things. And that it's like, if you're in a car, like you have a car, your windshield, you got a crack in your windshield, right? So you have this tiny crack. But then you go over a bump and it gets a little bit bigger. You go over a bigger bump, bigger. And then as the car gets older, that windshield gets older, those cracks get bigger because it doesn't have the strength to sort of keep those cracks smaller. That's what was happening in her brain, if that makes sense. He said that there's some Alzheimer's, but not enough that it would matter. She didn't have the brain damage that he saw. He said, actually, if the brain damage wasn't there, you may not even notice the Alzheimer's for years, or if at all, ever. So just a piece of advice: record every medical appointment you go to, and that might mean taking really good notes. That might mean using an app like Otter, which is an audio recording app that you can record so you can remember everything that happened, or taking really good notes after you get out, and then using the next step of that, which is what we use, which is our tracker. So it's our care tracker. You can get it for free. We made a template of our tracker. It's at disruptdementia.com. It is the best thing we've ever done. We've started using this years ago, where we just started tracking kind of day-to-day stuff, like what's different, what's happening, situations, so we could both keep up to date on what was going on, Pam and I, my sister. And it has grown over time. It's gotten a number of new columns so we can track different things. But if I go to a doctor's appointment, or Pam goes to a doctor's appointment, and the doctor says, how many falls has she had in the last 6 months? We can go, boom, open that spreadsheet up, bam, 5. When? This day, this day, this day, this day. Like, we know everything, okay? There is nothing more important to our tools that we have found. There's a lot of them. Pam already has talked about a bunch of them. Look at her videos. She's got a lot that she's sharing. And this one, though, it's the best. It's our number one tool. We were like, what's the best thing we can share with everybody? This is the thing. So get it, disruptdementia.com. There is both a Google Sheets version and a Microsoft Excel version that you can download and add it to your own account. All right, so 6 months later, we go back to Dr. Brian. A little bit late, so actually it was 9 months later because it got delayed. So April 12th, 2023. Now the hallucinations had started at this point, so we were starting to have those. When one morning she said to me, "Don't you see dead people at night?" I said, "My God, no, I do not." So will I laugh? It was terrifying for her, but humor is my go-to, and I do it to diffuse situations. So that's how it goes down, people. That's how it goes down. Like it or don't like it, don't care. That's what happens. So I'm going to share a few more symptoms with you in a little bit, but first I want to go through what he had brought up again in this appointment in April 12th, which was Lewy Body Dementia. So Lewy Body Dementia, yes, she definitely has some symptoms related to that, but all of dementia symptoms can cross over, right? But then there's, with with each sort of dementia, so Alzheimer's is dementia, frontal lobe is a dementia, brain damage is a dementia, Lewy body dementia. They're all dementia. It's like cancer, skin cancer, brain cancer, breast cancer, right? It's the same thing. Dementia, Alzheimer's, frontal lobe, Lewy body, right? They're all under dementia. So these things can cross over because it all is in the brain. So these multiple areas can be affected. And so a lot of symptoms are going to cross over. But a lot of these dementias have something that are kind of particular just to them that make them stand out. Sleep. This is a big one for Lewy body, is acting out dreams, including violent movements during sleep or falling out of bed. This was not real for her. This never happened. Girlfriend sleeps like a log. You put her in that bed. She doesn't even move her arm ever for hours. Nothing happens. Sleeping during the day, having naps. No, never. They like with Lewy body, you're going to sleep. Maybe might even be 2 hours a day. You're having naps. Nope, not real, especially at this point. Not happening. Trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. No, even after a nightmare, I would be like, Mom, you're okay. You're safe. I've got you, blah, blah, blah. And she'd be like, okay, going to bed. Boom, sleeping. Like it was crazy. So, but it makes sense that he was saying, she's got some symptoms that fit under Lewy body. But he also wasn't saying, it is Lewy body. He was saying, this is interesting. This could be the thing. He's investigating. He's curious. But Pam and I were really stuck in that sleeping part. Like we were like, it just doesn't feel right. So November 2023, he was definitely still sort of thinking Lewy body. And again, he wasn't being forceful about this. He was just being curious and thinking Lewy body. She has a lot of the symptoms that fit with that. This could be what we're talking about. And maybe some of those other symptoms are coming and just haven't happened yet. Her MoCA in 2023 was 16 out of 30. So not that different from the last time we saw him. Last time we did the MoCA, right? So kind of similar. We're not super different. No, 20. So the very first one in 2021 was 22 out of 30, but now we're at 16 out of 30. So now I'm going to just give you some little bites of scenarios of things that had happened over 2023 and 2024, sort of up until our December 2024, our last appointment with Dr. Brian Masajic. Not our last appointment, meaning we're never seeing him again, meaning it's just the last one we had with him. Dressing was getting more challenging. Doing it on her own was a little harder. She would sometimes put tops on as like a skirt. So the neck would be around her waist. And the arms would just be, hanging. And I would just leave that. That's fine. The only reason I would really change that is if I knew she was going somewhere outside of the house. So I would then say, it's a little cold outside. Maybe we need better pants on. Come on, let's pop some jeans on, right? One of our a couple of things. Her dignity is really important. And I felt like that was our job to make sure that we maintained that as best as we could. Her autonomy was really important. Her not feeling wrong was really important. Pam and I did our best and still do our best to make all of that true. So she would also ask if my dog Buffy was her dog or my dog. Is Buffy my dog? I was like, no, Buffy's definitely not your dog. Buffy's my baby. She just started having more hallucinations that were very scary. The little creepy people. There was a man that would come to her bed. He wanted to kill her. People screaming in her face. There would be multiple people walking around her room at one time. Terrifying stuff. The hallucinations started happening during the day. So she would come in. We'll go grocery shopping. We'd come in and she'd say, oh, there she is, saying like Buffy is at the top of the stairs. But Buffy wasn't. Buffy's like walking towards us from the living room. There's nothing up there. So stuff like that was happening. If you remember, I mentioned her obsession with her bank account as well. Something that started happening was no more obsession, just forgotten. Wasn't checking her bank account anymore. Just stopped. No rhyme or reason. Around the spring, she went out to do weeding in the garden and she just tore up all of the hostas. I felt like during this time I did a lot of, oh, okay, that's good. Great. Like, who wants hostas anyway? So she was also having trouble with the remote control, which who makes these remote controls for like Bell or Kojiko? There are a million buttons. Why does anyone need a million buttons? Anyway, so we got a really easy remote control to use. A lot of the things I talk about like this, I will include links for those things in the description. Super easy remote control, had 5 buttons. Green for on off, orange for volume up down, and blue for channel up down. Okay? This also then got difficult a few months later. Safety issues started happening. Going upstairs was very scary. Sometimes she would fall forward, thank God, not backwards. There was a time when I was behind her and I was like, we're going down. We're going down. Safety issues were happening, especially around the stairs, but also other things. She almost put her hand in boiling water one day because she was trying to figure out how hot it was. I'm like, this is never the way we decide if it's boiling water. So like, no, but like this is what started happening. These are changes that were happening over time. Some continence issues came up. I call it wet wind. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. So we got Nick's underwear. That definitely worked for a while for that. She would ask, is this my house? Is this my house? She's been there for 20 something years. Is this my house? Do I live here? Wild stuff, man. Wild stuff. Words would start coming out wrong. One time I remember it's from the tracker that I pulled all of this from. I only know what I know. That's what she meant to say. What she kept saying was, I only owe what I owe. I only owe what I owe. At this point, we did bring up retirement homes because we did want to move her into long-term care. But in Ontario, it's not like you can be like, hey, we're moving into long-term care tomorrow. It could take like 2 years, 3 years, whatever. So we're like, is there an interim? Because safety in a house with levels is hard. We did try PSWs. That was a nightmare. She kicked them out all the time. It was bad. So we were like, what's an interim? Is a retirement home a good idea? And we had talked about this way before this. We had talked about this because we were like, wouldn't it be great for her to have friends, make friends? But no, we're not ready. She's not ready. It's too soon. It wasn't too soon. We did this too late. If you're thinking about it, please get serious, because if you're thinking about it, it's probably too late already. Get moving. We did end up moving her in July of 2024. Something that did start happening before we moved her, it was around April that I noticed that she would start calling Buffy the dog. The dog. Pam and I looked at a bunch of places, retirement homes. We settled on one. We brought her there. Mom, because we wanted her to be part of it, and understand that this was a good idea, and for many reasons. And then everything happened really, really quick. And by July 2024, we were moving her in. We moved her in on July 24th, 2024. We had a number of falls, though, in that sort of whole span of time period, and including her being moved in up until the December 2024 doctor appointment. So about 20 falls. 3 of them were bad. 1, an ambulance came. 2 others, we were in the hospital for CT scans. She was fine, but again, the windshield. Nothing you can do about this. So Pam and I still were Lewy body. Is it Lewy body? What is it? You know? And then just things fall in your lap sometimes. And so here I was on Facebook in a Facebook group, Canadian Alzheimer's and Dementia Support Group Canada. And within a back and forth with somebody, she mentioned some similarities with Mom and the vision, right? Again, if you don't know about the vision, go back to video 1 and you'll understand. This is a big deal. This is really important. It's important to notice these things. That's why it's important to track these things. So it was called, this type of dementia, she sent me a video called Do I See What You See? Link in description. The dementia they're talking about is a rare dementia called Posterior Cortical Atrophy. I hope I said that right. And so then I look at it and I'm like, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. Yes. Sent it to Pam. She's, whoa. Now the two of us are deep diving into this. What is this? We do all this research. Perfectly aligned. So I'm going to just tell you a couple things. Like some things definitely, again, spread over different dementias. But like everything we've talked about, trouble recognizing faces, identifying objects was problematic, judging distances, challenges with spatial stuff and understanding visual scenes, the ad, right? Understanding stairs, navigating through crowded spaces, like everything here is a yes. Yep, yep, yep. Trouble reaching for objects accurately, uncoordinated movements, difficulty with hand-eye coordination, trouble reading, trouble writing, all the things. Problems with planning, sequencing, problem solving, doing multiple step activities, following instructions, memory loss, though often less prominent than visual issues in early stages. Visual issues. This was our number one thing that started happening for us. Trouble recalling recent events or conversations. Again, by the way, visual issues, video 1. Problems finding the right words. I just told you about that. Issues understanding written language, misperceptions about size, space, things like hallucinations, like yeah. Anxiety, yes, especially when they're be aware of what is going on with them. Yes, big time. The doctor had to give her medicine for this because she was so her anxiety was so high. Social withdrawal, yep. Loss of interest in things, yep. Pam and I literally just talked about this the other day, how mom had all these hobbies before. She has zero interest in doing anything. Not just now, but like years ago. She retired in 2019 and then like had no hobbies. There was nothing, not interested. Slow shuffling walk, increase due to increase of falls. Yeah. Yes. All the things, yes. So then our most recent appointment, which was on December 4th, 2024, we saw Dr. Brian Masajic. We told him about this PCA, Posterior Cortical Atrophy. And of course he was curious because he is a curious person. He's an interested person. He's a knowledgeable person. He's an expert. And he is a solution finder. So he did not shun us. He did not say, no, I told you it was Lewy body. No, he was like, interesting. This is a very interesting, option here. Let's look at this. Could it be multiple things? Can it be some Lewy body and this? Yes. This sounds very interesting for all the things. Pam said, would there be a difference in treatment between PCA and Lewy body? He said, no. Dementia is dementia. Unfortunately, of course, there is no cure, as we all know. Knock on wood. It's 2025. I'm hopeful that we're going to find a cure. I'm looking at you, scientists. Get on it. So did the MoCA test, of course, as we do every time. He said a score under 10 is really bad. Now remember, very first one, 22 out of 30. Previous one that we've done, we're at 16 out of 30. Today, in December 4th, 2024, 5 out of 30. He was shocked at the difference. He had only seen her a year ago. He couldn't believe the difference. At one point, Pam said, what stage do you think she's at? 5, 6, and the 7 stages of dementia. And he said 6.5. So an overwhelming appointment for sure. We knew she had changed, but it is like I've always said, it is like watching hair grow until one day you look and you go, whoa, my hair's so long. I didn't know, right? These changes when you're around somebody so often you don't notice them. And so here we are. Perhaps a little bit of Lewy body, but a really good fit with posterior cortical atrophy, PCA. In the next video, I'm going to share something else. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. So come back for more. Take care of you. I'll see you in the next one.